Ba da 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 da. That's our new theme song. Everybody, welcome back with the Plapper. Platypus is the name. I am here with the one and the only Laliette. Still doesn't have his own YouTube channel, but we are here. This is a podcast, even if it's not labeled as such, and we're gonna talk about the game. So welcome back. How was your week in the Bazaar, Laliette?
It was very interesting. From going from the really oppressive meta where you kind of had to play all of the things that are kind of gone now, to trying to figure out what is good, only to have everyone playing aggro Vanessa or poison Vanessa. It's been very interesting, and I've kind of struggled. This is the first section of the game where I haven't averaged about 9 wins per run. I'm probably somewhere around 7.5.
All right, I haven't told you, and I haven't shown the viewers yet, but what do you think my rank is at right now? Remember where I was last time? I think I was at, what, 205, 185, something like that?
Yeah, 180 something, and I peeped you because I saw that on the website that we're about to go to after this, that there
Okay.
is a leaderboard, and you were like 400 and something.
Yeah, I wish. I'm currently at 983. This has not been a good week for me in the sense that I'm still playing a lot of Pig. And after the balance patch came out, I want to keep playing Pig because now I really want to see kind of what is possible. But I am throwing a lot of games. I don't want to say on purpose. I'm trying to win. All right. I don't want to sandbag it too hard, but it's like, all right, I have Vineyard, Bee, Wait, Bushel, and I'm like, ooh, there's Snow Globe and Igloo. Sell my whole board, buy some stuff, see if I can make a totally different build work. So I've been trying to force a lot of things that I haven't normally done, and I've had some really cool runs. Like I had 1,000 regen in one game. I've won with just a big claw. Like I've had several games and I've gotten 10 wins in ways that I did not think I would. But I've had a lot of bad games as well that I'm just kind of having fun, kind of just exploring the game. But overall, Pig has been quite a bit nerfed. He's less fun to play now, just because, like, let's take a look here really quick. All right, we got the balance changes up here in front of us. I won't. They're not balance changes. We have the patch here. The change in balance is items were removed. All right, Arms Dealer obviously was too strong, was removed just from Pig. Crook removed, Yo-Yo removed, Regal Blade removed, and you might have forgotten this because I forgot this, but last week they removed Balcony, and Balcony is still gone. So Balcony is not the best item, but it like doubles the value of the left item to the left of it and gives it like 20% less cooldown. It's a pretty decent item. It's probably better than stained glass windows specifically in a combat, but obviously stained glass window gets value over time, but it's like that's a lot of items that are gone from Pig. Like he has less archetypes than he's ever had before. So I don't even think Pig is like a complete character. They would never release him in this state because there's too many things that don't make sense. Like Atlatl and all these medium items, they don't really do anything if you don't have Crook to like make it work. And I don't know how they're going to balance it, but I think that's what we're going to talk about. But yeah, Pig's in a weird spot right now. But you said Vanessa's been feeling pretty good, right? She's the best right now in your opinion? We'll talk about that also. But
Yeah, I mean, went from feeling like maybe the worst, or the second worst, to being the clear strongest, meta-wise. I do think that the biggest counter to her happens to be the way that you play Pig. So that's kind of cool for you when
that's
you
true.
have been forcing that one build, which is not what the game's about and is not why you enjoy playing Pig. You don't play Pig to play one build all the time.
Yeah. So Pig is still very strong, but he's very narrow now. That's basically all there is to it. You can make a freeze Pig work, but so a lot of the Pig builds that are strong are very hard to come by. Freeze, you need to get really lucky because it's not like so his easiest build is like the bee with the vineyard, the weights, the bushel. There's a little bit of maneuvering in there. That's the hyper combo, but you could still use like hogwash instead of once you have weights and you have the ability to heal, you could throw on bird and ATM. You can kind of make a weaker version of this build work. When it comes to like freeze Pig, you're either all in or you're dog shit. Like you could do a little bit of freeze, but it's really not worth the slot most of the time. That if freeze 3 items for 1 second. So you need to get the snow globe, you need to have 3 properties, and you need to have the booby trap, and then you need to have a way to deal damage in case they poison you before you can start permanently freezing them. So there's no flexibility there. An HP pig, which is what you were alluding to as being a great counter to Vanessa and beats pretty much every Vanessa build, is very strong, but its end game potential is based on luck. You need to get your item early, and then you need to find a way. So you start scaling your HP early through pawn shop, but if you never find a belt, the build will never work. And if you never find a way to convert that HP into damage, the build will never work. And if you get pawn shop too late, your HP just doesn't quite hit the threshold to one-shot people. So there's a lot of places for it to go wrong, even when you're trying to force it, but it is still strong. When I would say it's not impossible at all. Like, it's still, you can force it relatively easily, but you're not gonna high roll as much as I would like to, basically trying to go for that one.
Yeah, I forced it 3 times in a row, and by that I mean I ended up having to fall back on the weights, etc., because I just didn't get the pieces all together, right? So it's like I got a pawn shop, never saw a belt, etc., etc. So you're like, well, this is cool. I can sell my pawn shop for 60 gold, but I already have 80 gold. Like, I didn't need another 60 gold. So and then of course I didn't hit the level up skill to convert that to 5,000 HP. So I had to sell out of my double whammy hammer, right? So
That's like,
I think I went 6 wins, 6 wins, 7 wins when I was like, you're saying this is working really good and I want to play it, and I just couldn't, those 3 runs, small sample size, but I had a lot of those problems that you're talking about where it's like it doesn't always come together, and I'm not as good at knowing like what are the places in the encounters I'm looking for to have the highest rates of being able to hit these items.
yeah, that build, I guess we could do build guides at some point too. Like, oh, how do you actually play this build even when things aren't going right? With the caveat that sometimes you got to back out. But like with HP Pig, I would say maybe day 8, maybe day 9, and depending on how many wins you have. Like if you've had a pawn shop and you've been scaling it, but if by day 8 or 9 you have no belt, no double whammy, no Lion's King, at that point I would probably, like you said, I would wait till I level up, find that thing that gives me the HP, just sell the thing, get 3,000 HP anyway, because no matter what build you're using, having that much HP is still very powerful. But the HP build is so strong if you can convert that HP into damage. You cannot have enough HP to just survive for the whole time. It just doesn't work. You need to have a bunch of healing, a bunch of shielding, or something. If your HP is 44,000, you're still gonna die if you're not converting damage or healing. You can't just be HP, alone. You can't. But that's where lemonade stand, that item's pretty sick. It heals percent base, same with hogwash, but lemonade stand also scales your HP. I love Pig has so many fun properties. Pig's gym, lemonade stand. I even like hogwash, but they just don't show up quite early enough because I want them early. It's always that damn money tree, bro. I hate that item. The money tree always shows up. All right, let's actually talk about. So yeah, Vanessa's the strongest probably because they removed everything good from the other characters, So Vanessa is now on top.
Iron sharpens iron, which did make my it's very funny because I've gotten so much better at playing aggressive Vanessa out of a requirement that I have to, because you used to pick up iron sharpens iron every time you saw it, right?
Yes,
and that's
always.
the slowly scaling damage. So you just whatever the first items you got, you're like, these are my items, and I take everything that's 4 seconds and under, and we just play them. And maybe I take a piranha, and that piranha gets scaled up by the end of the game to 130 damage piranha.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron is very good. So she did lose that, but besides that, I mean, Armadillo was insane. And obviously Crook, Yo-Yo, Arms Dealer are all insane as well. I think Regal Blade is insane as a starting item. I don't think it's as insane if you had to find it. It's still pretty crazy, but not as broken, I don't think, as these other items. But so let's
go one at a time.
Yeah, so Armadillo.
How do you fix
Armadillo? This item's tough. I don't know what it did before, but it cannot be on a shield without a longer internal cooldown or something. I don't think it could have it when you shield, you deal damage equal to this thing's damage. It just, I think you can't nerf the numbers on this to make it okay. Like you can make it a 0-0, 0 armor, 0 attack, and it's still going to be busted with a 30-second cooldown. It just doesn't matter, right? That line of text I think is too strong in a character with bunker, and bunker's not that good, so I don't think that's the problem. So
Yeah. So it used to be the exact opposite it is now. So it scales off of damage, the shield scales off of the damage. And it was hard for Dooley to scale the damage. It's really easy to scale the shield.
yeah, I could feel like if they literally switched the position of the two items or the two abilities, where if it said something like every 5 seconds it dealt damage, and then every time you dealt damage you shielded, um, maybe that would make more sense because it's more defensive. Obviously, it would still be broken with some of the skills, but that those skills are going to be broken anyway. The issue is it could just kill you before you do anything. And the sandstorm was like whenever you hit Dooley for like 50, and then he hit you back for like because you had bunker, he hit you back for 120 every time you hit him, and then he shield. I'm like, this sucks. Like, what do you do? So I don't know. Maybe just keep everything the same, but just switch so he actually just shields, and then whenever you shield, you deal damage. Or sorry, the opposite. He attacks, and when you deal damage, you shield. That might still be broken, but I think it's less broken for sure.
I think for the most part, and I could be wrong, if you fix or change the interaction between it and Bunker, it becomes a much more fair gameplay, right? So I don't know if Bunker needs to change or if you go in the direction you're talking about, but the interaction between those two is like really bad. Well, really problematic.
Yeah. Um, how would you fix it? Do you think you just got to nerf it into the ground? Like,
I think I hate the idea of just turning it back to what it was before, but now people know how to play it, so it's going to pop up more, right?
mhm.
Because I think it was just underutilized before, and it was more difficult to utilize. But I definitely want to get rid of the interaction with Bunker, and I don't think you can have the interaction with Sandstorm and be healthy, right? Because if all your game plan needs to be is survive this Sandstorm and then you insta kill your opponent off of every damage tick, like that's bad. The fact that every poison tick you get to friggin' murder your opponent and stuff.
And you know,
So
I'd never thought about that because Pig doesn't have any poison, so I've never poisoned them when they've had that before. Wow, that's brutal. Vanessa must have been having a bad time. Just if you had an item that accidentally, it's like, oh, this does one poison every 6 seconds, but it gives me shield. I'll put it on the board. Then you just getting hit for like 150 every 1 second. Just mother. So Armadillo for me wasn't that bad most of the time because like HP Pig again still just one shots him because he's kind of waiting for you to do stuff, especially when if they're going heavy on the bunker, they're waiting for you to deal damage to shield it. But you know, I just hit him for like 10,000 and it just died. But
so I'm curious
it's
what they
super
will do because I don't have a great idea for what to do about Armadillo.
Yeah, I mean, they might just have to revert it. I don't think it was a bad item before. I didn't really use it that much, but I always read it and it sounded interesting. But there's a lot of items. If it went back to its old self, I still think there's a lot of items that are worse than that in the game that could use buffs. Like, I don't think that would be like the most unusable item. You know, it's still not as bad as like Brass Knuckles, which will be good someday. I don't know when or how, but there's a lot of items that I'm like, ugh, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to. What do you mean you're charging me gold to take this piece of crap? No. Arms dealer, this one seems way easier to balance. The two ways I would balance it is either nerf the number, which is the most obvious. The other way is because right now I think it's 30 HP when you buy and sell a weapon. I think you just probably do both. You nerf the number, but also you just make it only activate on a buy or a sell. I don't know which one's technically stronger. I assume if
Buy is stronger.
buy is stronger, and because sometimes you can
Because
get
you don't always want to sell everything, right? So it's like anything you keep on your board or in your, like I can't think of an item, weapon that I want to keep for some reason, but like let's say you need to keep it for a reason, kind of like what Vanessa does, where you scale off something off of how many weapons you have for a level up option. Like the fact that you have to sell it, you already bought it.
the only reason sell I think could be stronger is because not in
Points?
not in every situation. You have to sell weapons. is bees. You could get bees in your inventory and then sell the bees whenever you buy a property. So it would activate whenever you buy a property as well. That's I actually think that's more interesting as an interaction where you're like, oh shit, when I buy a property when I have the beehive, I just get to get 30 HP. That's pretty good. Either way, even if they don't nerf the number and they just make a buy or sell, that's literally half. That's pretty big. I think they're going to take a half measure and they're going to bring it down to from 30 down to like 20 or something, and make it so it's 40 when you buy and sell as opposed to 60, and it's still going to be busted. And then they'll.
And we are talking about the gold version, of course, because that's what
Yeah.
comes up as your initial option.
I
I also think the best thing you could do with this is remove it from the starting pool.
Yeah, but I I don't think that's as good of an option, only because I feel like it's the only thing, or to replace it with something else. But Pig doesn't have anything that scales HP in his starting skills, and that is supposed to be a core identity of his toughness build. Maybe it's just too strong of a mechanic to have high HP in the early game. Um, but I would like for them to have something. Maybe like if they had a skill that's like whenever you sell a small item, get 5 HP, like a mini lemonade thing. I don't know, but I feel like there should
This
be a
is
way to go into that archetype at day one.
I agree. This is my argument. I very often, my first day, see a pip, right? The little bronze selling Sphinx cat thing.
Yeah,
Um, I never pick him because all the bronze things are horrible. I think you can actually have it so that the bronze level is pretty strong and it doesn't get that much stronger by silver, right? Maybe it gets like, 5 stronger or something. To give you an incentive to actually go to pip.
I agree. I think the bronze one, if they don't change the skill and it's just 10 when you buy and sell, that's great. That's a really good ability. Um, I wouldn't say it's broken at that point at all. And then, do you ever even upgrade it? Honestly, you probably almost never upgrade it. It's way harder to upgrade skills because you can't go to a gold skill vendor and find the gold version. You have to go to another bronze skill vendor or to a person that sells upgrades. So once you take the bronze version, you're almost dedicating to not getting a better version of the skill. Um,
Or you're just expending a lot of resources, like going to multiple pips, or getting lucky
yeah,
and hitting the upgrade skill vendor, like you said. And I think that makes it so. I know this doesn't exist in the game, but you could actually have a cap where it only gets so good, right? You
yeah.
could have it only go to gold, right?
No, you're absolutely correct. It could easily be, yeah, maybe not even that it only gets so gold, but it's like, um, get 30 HP whenever you buy or sell. Well, you don't want it because it's still the issue is it's too strong early. But maybe it's like up to 300 max HP. After 300 HP, the skill turns off or something like that. Um,
Mm,
you could have it like as a hard cap, but yeah, I don't. I think
yeah.
I honestly I do like removing it from the starting pool. That way you go to Pip because it makes Pip way more tempting to go to. But I really want them to add something that scales your HP into the starting pool because that's very Pig. If it was any character, I'm like, why does Vanessa need this? She doesn't, right? It's like not a core part of her identity. They just need a weaker version of ability like this in Pig, I think.
Yeah, or like you said, or if you're going to take it out of the pool, um, do a rework on some really bad item like a brass knuckles, and have brass knuckles actually generate you HP. I don't know why it would, but you know what I
No,
mean.
it could.
Like,
Well, you get beat up. It's like maybe every time you lose a fight, gain 50 permanent HP or something. I don't know. Maybe give you an incentive to lose, which you wouldn't try to, but you have
ooh,
a consolation prize.
God, I would love to see some sort of mechanic that is looking to lose, because like lost streaking in auto battlers is like a really big part of the identity, and we don't really have that.
Number one balance change I would like to see in the game this is like not related to this stuff, is I really want the PvE battles to be less punishing when you lose them.
Mm,
Because it could literally it could feel like it destroys a run. If you suddenly just lose 4 experience, 3 experience, you're like, I'm way behind, bro. And you can already tell that they've thought of that and they started implementing it because you earn gold as you kill them, but you don't get any experience unless you actually beat them. I think not getting the item is enough, and that I think they should have like every third you get like an experience point or something like that. Like if you get them,
However
I
many experience there is, break it up by that measure. Yes, I
yeah, yeah.
agree.
because like I got a guy down to like 15 HP and I lost and I got 0 experience and it prevented me from getting level 10 or, you know, getting that level 10 level up. So I didn't have my diamond weight. So I lost that combat. And I was like, yes, that is a get good. Just it's a pretty much a predetermined outcome if you can or can't beat them. But I think the misinterpretation of that judgment, like not accurately judging that, is just a little too heavily punished right now. Because typically what I don't care about is the gold. Because I'm playing pig a lot. I'm like, I don't care about the gold, bro. I have it. I have 85 gold in my pocket right now. I don't want your 6 gold. Especially in the
Yeah,
mid game.
well, there's a couple different things going on. It's more punishing now that Dabora is out of the pool, and I think that it's a brilliant idea to add the sequential. Like as you beat them, you get a little bit of experience. The more you can go, because what it does is it encourages weaker players to fight the stronger fights, and then that helps you with the skill progression of understanding when you can take a fight.
Yeah.
Right. What doesn't help you with that is when you have a run, you think you're strong, you fight the hard guy, and then you get destroyed, and you say, I'm never fighting him again. Then you never really get better at that, progressive knowledge piece that makes this game so brilliant.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Especially because like I'll be insanely strong versus players, but insanely weak versus PvE. Or sometimes it's the opposite, where it's like because like the B build is like pretty damn bad versus most of these encounters. Because they'll have a guy, he's like, I just freeze your one item, and every I have Glacier. I'm like, whoa, hold on now, that's not an item people run. Or there'll be a guy like the stupid is like the Death Knight, where it's like I have one attack every 15 seconds and it hits for 50% of your life and it poisons you. I'm like, no one plays that, bro. My build is not good against that.
It's not actually an item in the game unless you get it from him. Yeah.
Yeah, so I lose a lot of times to these characters because I'm like, I'm like, I've literally had like, I'm 7-0, 8-0 versus players, and I've lost 2 PvE fights because I'm like, these are just builds that the B sucks versus. These are like HP pig builds. Basically, they have high HP pools and they don't use items that frequently.
Yeah, and I will say that like uh generally speaking, me and Platt 100% believe in watching other and better players, even if it's just better in a different character or in a different build, whatever, you know what I mean, how you want to judge better. And we believe in growing and learning within games. That's why we talk on the podcast, you know what I mean, about the games, because just us talking about this makes us better at the game and helps with the reflection and the deeper learning. But when I don't, I'm hoping I speak for him. We do not support the whole just get good. It's like,
Yeah,
no, somewhere around half to a little bit under half of people are going to lose, right? Like every fight, because that's kind of just, unless every build progressively gets stronger, or like that idea they had on Reddit where everybody only plays non-damaging builds and then everybody gets 10 wins based off of ties. But no, honestly, I just think it's hilarious that people want to act like almost half of people just don't matter, because even if they got better, that would supplant and push down the other people who used to be good down into the tier of not good.
yeah,
So it's like,
it's a fixed amount, right? It's in
mhm,
any game where 2 people go in and one comes out a winner, one comes out a loser, whether like because of the progression, like, oh, you could lose day 1, you only lose one thing, and there's a revive mechanic. Can people on average get more wins than whatever 50-50? Yeah, everyone can have above a 50% win rate in this game, which is part of the reason why they don't want the get good mentality, because they want people to feel like winners. Like, well, at least I won 4 games this one, I won more than I lost, but I just lost a couple big hits at the end game. But no matter what that number is, there is a mathematical point where it's like 50% of players will be above this, 50% will be below that. 50% are probably not going to be above 7 wins, and 7 wins is not going to give you 100 gems on average as well. So it's not technically infinite, even though if you include the daily ticket, you play 3 times a day or something, maybe it is, I guess. But yeah, 100%. Like everyone plays the game. If 10 people get up and they're in the top 10, 10 people, the bottom 10 people that were above that 50% get pushed down. It's a consistent thing. So there's always going to be people that you just can't get good. That just doesn't make any sense. It's a terrible argument. The game should be fun for all players at all levels. It's like, This is what happened to this is a rant now about like World of Warcraft, where they're like, oh, everything's built around Mythic Plus, the hardest content in the game. It's like, well, but no one plays it. It's like 15 people in the game play it, and for everyone else that plays the game sucks and is boring and it's chores. Anyway, yes, the point is the game should be fun for all players of all levels. I'm not saying everyone should be able to get 10 wins and get a participation trophy. There is a difference in those two standpoints.
Yes, for sure. We like to think we're very nuanced around here. So, Crook, how would you fix Crook?
I think there's a number that makes it. You could make a number on this that makes it good. That makes it good but not broken. But it's one of the hardest inherently items to balance. Well, actually, it's better now because they got rid of the targeted upgrading. This item would be way more balanced now than it was before. The issue is day 2, day 3, diamond Crook. That's the problem. I don't think it's literally possible to get it diamond on day 3. Maybe in a freak situation in a large variance game, there is a situation where you get it as a starting item, you find sterling on day 1, and then day 2 you didn't spend all your money and you could then get another get a gold item. There's probably a literal situation. But it's already nerfed right now. I think if they need to nerf this, like there's a number that's going to make it bad. And I don't want this item to be too bad. I want it to be usable. I think an easy way is maybe just make Crook not count itself as a medium item. Count other medium items. That way it has the number on it still looks good, but it's like, it's always, you have to more heavily dedicate into the medium items. Because right now, you typically run 4 mediums and 2 smalls. Maybe you consider that 5th medium item now to get the previous number, to get a model above the 200 or 180 damage threshold. So I think that's probably what I would do, is start with making it other medium items. That way it's not a dead item, but it's not self-buffing the whole board. Because right now, you just run a diamond Crook, and no other medium items. It's still freaking good,
Crook being on Zookeeper also is problematic in my opinion.
Yeah, that's why they took it off. I hope they keep it off. He still doesn't have it, right? They took it off of him?
No, he has it. I've gotten a Crook since the patch.
Really? Why didn't they remove it?
But it was a silver Crook, and what the hell am I going to do with it? Like, I was already past level 5, and I'm like, I'm not going to play a gold Crook build. Like, it's not good enough.
It would be, actually, this next time, if you get a Crook and you're willing to throw away a run, you find the character that gives you a high chance to find upgrades, have your Crook sell all other items. See if he can sell you a Crook. I'm interested to know if it literally is possible or it just can't show up.
Well, the other thing is that those things don't always, it has a high chance. You can get 2 things I have multiple times that you don't have.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I have had that happen before. I wonder what they sell though.
Not often, but
yeah, that's super rare. But I've had it with the skill guy. I'm like, what are you doing? High chance. Just make it guaranteed to have 1 slot. Make 1 slot 100% of a random item, and then
when you
1
get
slot
2 random slots.
50.
You're like, what do I do with this pile
Why
of
did
shit?
I come? I can't re-roll the shop. I can only buy 2 items. This shop sucks. Yeah. Zookeeper having Crook is a problem. I like monsters having. It's so weird because the game. I think this will be less of a problem as the game gets bigger with more characters. But right now, it's like I go to the Raven guy and he has like a Pygmalion item, and like, so it's just like the items they choose to give to monsters are. I think they need a bigger pool. Yeah, I think they need to give a bigger pool of monsters, maybe. Because right now it's like when a character like the Raven has the grindstone or something, it makes the grindstone incredibly accessible. Not guaranteed, but it makes it a magnitude more accessible than every other item in the game. Like just that one stupid alchemist having a freeze potion, a Mac item. Now suddenly Vanessa freeze potion is like a potential build that people are aiming for and somehow successfully kind of doing. Maybe it's just a bad variance of a high MMR and high wins.
You also get port.
Yeah. And so yeah, the port refreshes the freeze potion, but even getting the freeze potion, which is a Mac item.
The port generates an ammo item.
Oh,
every day.
It does? Okay, well,
yeah.
That's crazy. Well, I've never bought port. I didn't know it did that. But it's just like,
well, that's why I told you that people are getting it from port. But anyway, it's not important. But yeah, so with Crook, I like your idea. The real thing that I'm worried about is I just want the math on if you have B, yo-yo, assuming yo-yo comes back similar, right? Those two small slots. I want the allotl to not be at 1 second. I don't
Yeah.
know where I want it, but I want it above 1 second so that you have to put some sort of effort to get 1 second allotl. I think 2 seconds is perfectly reasonable. 2 seconds is, what do you call that? That's an Uzi, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, that's a really fast gun. And this is a throwing spear.
Yeah, because Vanessa has the katana, Dooley has the Uzi, and then you have the Allotl, but the Allotl's actually... I hate that item because right now it either goes from like the most dog shit item in the game, like to, and even if you get it up to like 130, 140 attack, it still sucks. It's still like 4 seconds. But then it's like that last little bit is everything for it. So yeah, I think like you said, I just want Crook with the Allotl to not be at 1 second. When it's diamond, I don't want it to be at 1 second unless you're running 5 medium items without any more investment. If you want to run 4 and you're running a grindstone, or you're running, I don't know, anything that it continues to, I mean, grindstone is, yeah, but you know, just a little more effort. It's too easy and it's too fast.
And there are weapon skills that you could boost it with, leftmost or rightmost.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So there are ways to kind of make up that last little bit, but like maybe being around somewhere around 2 seconds. Unless you have 5 medium items, because the 5 medium items really kind of locks in your pool. There's not that many things you can run, right? And
Yeah.
you can of course get the scaling from weights if you want to play weights to get that reduction down or whatever
Because when you're running 5 medium items, you're not running Pig's Gym, right? You're not running Drum, which permanently hastes all your items. So you just, yeah, like you said, you really lock in your pool. You're running stuff that is not that good. Like you're running the stupid ores, right? The ores that hit twice and slightly scale your weapons, that has like an 8-second cooldown. Because like you wouldn't normally want to run that item because it's like an 8-second and by the time you actually get to fire that, you've already hit them 8 times to 16 times if you could haste the Allotl. So yeah, I think that's an appropriate amount of like building into something. You're taking 2/3 of the item pool and saying, nah, I'm gonna ignore all you just to do this thing. And so that should be strong. And it's a perfect like new player friendly build also. You don't need to think about it too much. It's strong. It should never be the top tier thing in the meta, but it should be viable.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. And I like it as a strategy that can compete with, aggro Vanessa for that 10 and 0, right? If you can just, starting item, you get a Crook, you're like, all right, where's my longbow? Where's my allotl? Where's my other 2 slots? And then you're there. Yo-yo. I know exactly how I want to do this, so if you don't mind, I'll
No,
go
please.
ahead and go
We've already
over what
talked
I
about
would
it, and
like.
we have come to a group decision on yo-yo.
It just seems like if yo-yo stays at silver, that it could be left only or right only. We don't really care what side, but it only works off of the one side, and it's not a use. I don't know if that really matters a ton, but that's just an idea that we had, is get rid of the use until you get to diamond. So it'd be like left, and it deals damage, but it's not a use effect. And then when you make it gold, it does both sides. And then when you make it diamond, it moves to being a use effect in its traditional yo-yo. And with the limited level ups, it's going to be difficult to get that old broken yo-yo. But of course, old broken yo-yo slots into so many builds that like you don't need to build, you don't need to plan on getting a yo-yo. You can just have a yo-yo, get it upgraded somehow, and then all of a sudden slot it into a majority of your builds when you're pig.
Because if I see a silver yo-yo and every time I use the item on the left, it deals whatever, it starts at 1 damage, I guess, but whatever, it deals damage. I'm still like, I'm picking that up every time. I'm probably putting it in my build. It's still great next to bird. And then I get it to gold. Now it's great next to bird and it's good next to weight. Or other things like it's good with piggles. It's a great piggle item. It's one of the best piggle items, which is why I miss it. And then, yeah, again, if you ever get to diamond and it's just old broken yo-yo, I think it's a perfect way to scale it up. Because I think as a diamond item, yes, it's broken, but like that's a lot of investment if you need to get something to diamond and you're not using your level. Because if you're using level 5 and 10, to get it there. You're not using it on your weight. You're not using it on your vineyard. You're not using it on your pawn shop. You know, it's a big sacrifice. That's a very limited resource. So I think that's totally fair, because it's also like, it's still not like, is it even a good silver item? It's probably decent, but it's not like, oh, this just fits into every build always, because it's not, it not being a use effect means it doesn't trigger, you know, the land scrapers and the vineyards or stuff, but it's still strong enough to use, especially when you're doing like a weapon pig. You're using pig's gem and you're scaling the weapons and stuff, then it's like, it's just good. Yeah, it's perfect. I think it's a perfect solution for the item in my mind.
Yeah. So this kind of builds into, the talk with Regal Blade, right? Because that's another item where it's like, I don't really think there's a huge problem with Regal Blade. It's just when you start with it, like, then it's really problematic. But if you pick up a bronze Regal Blade on day one, it's good. And then if you don't get it upgraded by like day 4, it's trash, right? Like, you can't just keep
I want them to
using the bronze.
keep Regal Blade as a bronze item that can go all the way up to diamond, but I want them to make the silver version weaker and have it scale harder, and like maybe, because right now, like, if they remove it from the starting items, it's still like, I had a game, this is a perfect game that I had where I was like, all right, I got ATM, and then I went hour 1 Sterling Regal Blade. I was like, oh, there we go. You know, it's just like, as long as Sterling can show up and you can get the silver version on day 1, day 2, I think they just need to nerf the silver version of it, you know, because I think it's 20 damage or something. Like, make it literally half that. Make it 10 damage and then go all the way up to 40 at gold. I don't care. But like, the silver version of it is just too aggro for sure. Because I think bronze can be 5. That's fair.
I don't even know if 20 is problematic, because I have a lot of problems when I don't get the upgrade on my Regal Blade, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, now that we don't have as many upgrades, is it really like very problematic?
That's true. We don't have the targeted upgrades randomly at level 2 and 3 and stuff like that. Those were
Which I love.
I love that.
I
like,
love that so much.
I get disappointed as a gamer because it's, you know, it's better to have love and lost, I guess, than to never have loved at all. But it's still like, I'm like, this is clearly better for the game. The balancing is so much easier to keep tight because you're just breaking the fundamental item rarity, like, pacing that they have. Because you're just like, day 3, I have a random diamond item. It doesn't matter if it's succulent. If it's diamond on day 1 or 2, it's still broken, you know? It's like, that's a lot of healing. Even Crystal Bonsai Diamond is busted, you know, at that early in the game. So, yeah. Maybe it's not a problem. I still think it is probably pretty strong because it's so much stronger than Silver Dog on the same day. Because Pig has so many ways to get easy, like, weapons early on. Because if you get the event that's like, get a tool, like, or get a small tool is a very common one. The only possible one is Hatchet. That's the only small tool he has on day 1. So you always get Hatchet, and that just is like, you know, all right, there's 20 damage there. You go to Andy, he has almost all of his small items. You know, it's like pepper spray, brass knuckles, the little hand thing, and he has so many small weapons. It's so easy to get like 100 damage on this on day 1 and day 2 if you get a merchant that sells weapons. That, and even like briefcase is free. You know, you buy it for 4, you sell it for 4.
So I am actually going to make the last argument I have for why I think silver might be okay. And I think if it's not in the pool, right, you're reducing the number of Regal Blades are hitting day 1 by some huge percentage. I don't really know what it would be, right? Yeah. But it's like the odds of hitting the day 1 Sterling and having the money to get the item and having it be the best item for your current build, because of course you can hit day 1 Sterling, but if you hit, or I mean day 1 hour 1, but if you hit after you do your fight Sterling, like, you kind of already have a couple things going on and you might not want to immediately grab the blade because it hasn't scaled yet.
Also, if you get Sterling early, it's like, it's not even if she has it, but you can't afford to re-roll and then buy it, almost, like, ever. You need to have, she needs to like have it in that first section as well.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I would rather them nerf the silver and keep it in the starting pool because I like, again, the buy sell mechanic of Pig as opposed to removing it. Because right now Pig has so many bad items in his starting pool. Like, what is it about, like, when I'm looking at, like, why is Brass Knuckles a starting item? Like, what archetype are you selling me with Brass Knuckles? It's like a small weapon. But it's like, I understand, like, all right, Succulents, Crystal Bonsai, these are scaling healing items. Bird, oh, I want to get properties. The Pygmalion Longbow, I want to have more HP than my opponent. You know, there's all these items that have ATM, perfect. You know, property and it gives me money. There's all these items that kind of have like a little bit of flavor in it and different ways you can go with Pig. But there's still like, even the two-handed, like the multi-strike little one, that's a pretty good weapon, and like the Brass Knuckles, these are just like, what's the flavor here for what I'm aiming for? They're not really
The problem with
good.
Brass Knuckles, and I think we talked about this last time, right? Is that Halady or whatever the times two,
Yeah, it's
like
just
6
it's just
damage
better.
or whatever. It's just better almost all the time. That's really what the problem is. But it's like both of those items really love, what do you call it? The grindstone, right?
Yeah,
So it's like, they should be in the art for the grindstone. But
or something. I like when the starting items have more like flavor and a little bit direction, and I think Regal Blade is a perfect example of like, I want to buy weapons, and even if I don't need them, I could sell them then. But or I think he wants you to sell weapons. So it's like it kind of, it's one of the only items besides dog, right? That's like buying and selling certain types of items. So that's why I think Regal Blade is just like a really nice starting item for like a, it's like a start. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I'll go with a Regal Blade run this time. And then good players pivot out of it because it's not that good. But it's like, you like having things like this, and so I think
so
I'd
you
rather
like
them
the
nerf it.
idea of it being a noob trap, just like what is it called? The
Adlotl,
spear.
the stupid
No,
Adlotl. Oh, oh,
no,
oh,
the spear from Vanessa.
Jing Long or something. The Jing Zhao or
Yeah,
something.
something Zhao. Yeah, I mean, I'm not good at pronouncing things, so but nonetheless, like that is a noob trap. I have like since the launch. At first, it seemed like it was noob trap, right? So we all played it. But like I just fought somebody on like day 9, and they had like an 800 damage one, and I was like, wow, I haven't seen one of those in a late game forever.
It doesn't matter if it gets to like, the thing is also, it's an extra noob trap because the only game we ever got to see of the Bazaar was Rarin playing with Reynad, and they used that weapon for the entire build, and he did really well. And so I was like, oh, this looks kind of good. And he's like, we might need to nerf this item. It is dog water, bro. It is like, it doesn't matter if you get it to 2,000 attack. It's still worse than dog. Dog gets up to 2,000 attack and it activates every 6 seconds. It's a pretty bad item in general. I think Regal Blade is better in the sense that it doesn't need to be a noob trap. I just think you make it weaker at silver and then give it its more power on the back end. Because if a noob trap, they go heavy into it and then they upgrade it, it's still gonna scale. Like as long as by diamond it goes up by 80 when you buy or sell a weapon, whatever it is. I think that's totally fine. I just think it needs a little bit of a knockdown in the early game if they keep it as a starting item, which is what I would like to see myself. All right, we gotta
All
keep
right,
moving and speed through these last two. But one last point.
okay, but I really need to know. What do you think about the idea of having just one item for some reason be bronze in the starter pool because it's too strong at silver?
I don't mind it at all. They will never do that. Reynad would never let that happen because it visually looks weird. And I think he cares about more than anything. He cares about the game looking visually not weird. He wants things to look uniform and like they make sense. Not like, well, we couldn't balance this item, so we're putting bronze arms dealer as a starting skill. You're right. The gold one isn't there. You could just start with the silver or the bronze. They're just never going to do that. I'm very confident. I don't think that's something they're willing to compromise on. I don't care. Go ahead.
I
Do
agree. Yeah. I agree. It's a very emotional thing, but like you want everything to kind of like visually and things to make sense, right? That's why it's so frustrating when there's top and bottom text on a card, right? Like
Yeah.
the use effect and the global effect, and you're like, where is this,
Yeah.
enchantment going to land? Is it on the
The
youth?
bottom, the good one, the global effect,
The
or
good
on
one?
every
Yeah.
8 seconds I do 3 burn. Woo! Like, no, thank you, bro. All right, iron sharpens iron. OP needs to be removed. If you take it, I mean, this you just take it from 3 damage to 2 damage, it's suddenly way worse, right? Like you're
It's way
getting.
worse.
Is it still a snap pick at that point though? Because I think the goal is to make it so it's not obviously the thing you take every single time.
Yeah, it's really tough as Vanessa because it's like you're almost always going to play some kind of aggro. So, like, I would have to play with it to know if it's good enough. But like mathematically, right, you're going to get 33% less damage out of it. That sounds like it makes it not a snap pick.
Yeah, I guess, but then here we go into the issue. You bring it down from 3 to 1 or 3 to 2 and nerf it, and good player. Okay, all right, it's not good. It's a what? This is the most noob trap. Then, if it's bad, this is the noobiest trap of all. Because someone that's not good at the game is gonna see it, and they're gonna be like, "I'm gonna buy all the weapons. Why can't I win? I was scaling the whole time." So I think it's an issue when this isn't good. I mean, is it really that big of a deal if this is just not in the starting pool? Is that a fair way to balance this? Just make it so you have to pick it up? I mean, I guess because if you don't get it till day 4, you're losing a lot of power, I guess, like 4, 8, 12, like 24
Yes.
damage per weapon, maybe something like that.
Yeah. Well, the biggest problem with it is the math, right? So I remember the first time that I was offered this, I was also offered the give all weapons plus 12,
Hmm.
and I was like, wait a second. By the end of day 2, this literally does the same thing as that with the weapons you have on the board, obviously, which
Yeah.
does matter. But it's like if I just dedicate myself to playing these, then I can get the same effect in 2 days. So by day 4, I'm getting twice the effect of this. You know what I mean? So I like the idea of having to pick it up later. And what one big thing about it is a bit of a nude trap regardless, because like one of the decisions you have to be able to make is what are the items I take out that have already gotten like plus 30 damage, but they're not actually better than this other item.
100%. That's the same with pig. And sometimes you're like, oh, but the succulent is so big now. I can never get rid of the succulent. I'm like, listen, the succulent's good, but the bird triggering 3 times at 1/8 of the power is just way better. Um, what about Dabora? You said you had something interesting to say about this encounter.
I have not missed Dabora at all. I have gotten so much better at utilizing exp in a way that's not greedy, right? I used to kind of not pick xp that much and only make sure I was at the levels for the first 4 fights, and then after that I didn't really care too much if I just leveled per day. Dooley needs to level way more because he needs that like extra hp and things like that. I don't play a ton of Dooley, but I've noticed that when I play him. And I really think that she could be used for something else because you still have plenty of ways to get 1 HP. That's kind of what you figure out when you remove Dabora, is you're searching for all these ways for those first 4 days to be able to hit those thresholds to get more slots on your board. So I think there's 3 different ways in the game that early to get 1 EXP, and I would say almost half the time you're able to get on track by day 2
Mhm.
to always have your slots open. And on day 1, I don't know what the numbers is, but it feels slightly above 25% for me to be able to go into day 1 at level 2. And that doesn't feel bad to me. It does make it a little bit RNG, but the items you have, the quality of items when you fill those 2 spots on day 1 is like, it's just 2 random pieces of bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's
it's
not going
literally
to.
stuff that gives you a slight mathematical advantage over 30 seconds. Like it's not like, whoa, this is build, my build.
Yeah.
Um,
So Dabora, thematically, she gives you gossip, right? So it's like, how cool would it be if Dabora just let you pick one of the 3 options for your next hour, right? So she can't show up before a PvP fight, she can't show up before a PvE fight, but she can show up on those other slots, and she will give you 3 options, like of a large middle, the small item guy Andy, and the big guy Pole. Like it could be anybody, but you get what I'm saying? Those are your 3 options. Pick one of them and you will see it tomorrow.
that could be kind of cool because it's also like it's an opportunity cost where it's like I don't, yeah, it could even have the small item vendor, the medium item vendor, the large item vendor, right? They could have the specialized ones. That way you could always get that. But it's like, yeah, because like you're not getting any money, you're not getting any items. You're giving up time to guarantee that you find that medium item because I'm playing HP Pig and I need to find belt. I'm willing to sacrifice this hour to give me a percent chance to increase to find belt. I think it sounds fine. Right now, the experience is too powerful. I didn't even realize that I haven't hit level 15 in like 10 runs, probably. Like, I'm not hitting level 15 on the deep end anymore. Um, and it is like, because it actually is interesting because also when you take that, like, oh, I'm going to get 1 experience, or I'm going to take 1 experience and 2 gold, and you level up, sometimes I don't have items to put there anymore, right? Because I've taken the bonus experience instead of getting items. So I do think it is a, I think it sounds fair. I don't want her to give experience again. I think it is a little too powerful in the early game, which is when it matters the most, you know?
And the thing that I like about this solution, and it's very unlikely that this is what they will do, but is in the early game, you just basically never pick it, right? Day 1, day 2, because you need things to promote your board and to, be able to fight. But then in the middle game, it just adds consistency to people who are trying to complete builds. I don't want to say force builds, but we know that's how people will actually use it. But there is an opportunity cost, like you said, because even if you get the vendor you want, if you don't get the item you want, you now wasted 2 days, 2 hours worth of things just to get nothing.
All right, and with that all said and done, we are going to go to our sponsored segment. Again, thank you very much for the incredible support. This is how we're going to pay for all of those new characters coming out. So, Laliette, please, who are we sponsored by this episode? We lost our last sponsor, but whatever, man. They just weren't ready to roll with us.
Yeah, our political opinions have led to a lot of issues for us. So we are sponsored today by The Port. So ahoy, adventurers, ready to sail the seas of strategy and anchor your gameplay in precision? Look no further than The Port, the ultimate gateway to tactical brilliance in the Bazaar. The Port isn't just a property, it's your lifeline. By increasing your resource regeneration and opening up new possibilities for trade, Port gives you the edge to outwit and outmaneuver your opponents. Whether you're building your empire or weathering the storm, this item ensures you stay ahead of the tide. Picture this: calm waters, steady growth, and a treasure trove of opportunities for you to explore. With Port, you're not just playing the game, you're navigating it to perfection. Set sail today, pick up Port in the Bazaar, and steer your way to legendary status. The ocean of opportunities calling. Don't get left ashore. We do have a disclaimer: freeze potion is not included.
Right, you're gonna have to go out and get one of those your own. All right, well, thank you very much to The Port, which is of course an item in the Bazaar, for sponsoring this video. Yeah, we can't disclose how much they gave us, but we'll just say that it's a couple spare change was thrown our way. All right, and with that, we are going to kind of give a rundown of where we think the game is at right now in terms of how strong the different characters are. And this might be the first time it's actually getting mixed up, which is, I hope so. This is some pretty devastating text in front of me for a couple characters. So, Laliette, what would you say is I don't know, let's start. Who's the weakest character right now overall? And there's no weak characters, but who is the least consistent with a powerful build?
I think the least consistent, if you look at each of their build options and you're going to play them equally, would have to be Pig, because he was just utterly gutted. And this is the first time that I'm going to say that Pig is not number 1, and definitely or at least 1A, 1B, right?
Yes, for me, it's actually pretty close between the whole Pig and dually thing. I guess it kind of depends. I don't see very many dualies that impress me. However, it being such a complex character to play leads me to believe that I would probably face a lot of weaker players just playing suboptimally with the character, and that it's not that dualie's weak, it's just that he's a little bit complicated, and so a lot of the builds I'm facing are not good. Whereas Pig is much simpler, and he was just, like you said, he was gutted in a lot of ways. He's pretty much all I've played. And again, I mean, I'm ranked, here's an example. I played a lot of Pig. I went from rank 200 to rank 900, trying all kinds of different builds. A lot of what is in his kit right now is half built or just not particularly functional because Yo-Yo's taken out, right? These are core identity items that synergize with other things. So he's a little bit lost right now. So I'm excited for these items to get back in their nerf state. Hopefully they have time to buff some of the weaker stuff too. But yeah. And then, so for me, I guess we're putting Dooley in the middle, and then Vanessa's number 1 right now, you think?
I think, yeah, Vanessa's number one, and I have no issues with you saying that it's really Vanessa and then the other two heroes, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't think inherently either of them are stronger. If you're a strong dually player, you're probably going to do better than most people playing Pig. But I do love the caveat that the best counter to the meta, because the meta really is like Poison Vanessa, Aggro Vanessa. Um, the best way to deal with that is to play HP Pig, and then you get to win a lot.
I'll go as far to say is if you're playing a medium roll, not a high roll, but like a medium roll HP Pig, and if you can get Radiant on your double whammy, it's impossible to lose to like any Vanessa that exists. Sometimes they'll have like a strong enough, like they could permanently freeze an item, or they'll have like when you haste for the first time, you freeze an item for 8 seconds. Then when you crit, you haste it. So you're just frozen for like 20 seconds because you have one item that actually activates most of the time. That could be rough. But if they don't have freeze, or if you have radiant, like I literally think you can't lose to a Vanessa. Dually is much harder because sometimes they just go infinite with some super shielding, and even 20k HP in 12 seconds isn't enough. But that's rare. That's like a really heavy roll dually. So I do like that. Yeah, maybe the best build in the game is a build on the weakest character right now, or not the top character right now, which is that's a really fun way to do it. Although I would prefer if he had his items back. He has like 7 items gutted from him right now. Doesn't have arms dealer, no crook, no yo-yo, no regal blade, no balcony. The skyscraper's diamond only now. Every single time they've written text to tell us about the game, it said "fuck you, pig." That's basically what it's been. They haven't
Other
given
than
them other than what?
bees are the only thing that
Yeah.
got better.
Okay.
Right?
Bees are like, if Pig didn't have bees, he might be dysfunctional as a hero, because even HP, you usually don't start HP. You usually go HP a little bit later when you get the pieces. Like you're just, a lot of times you're like, all right, I got Vineyard B weight, and it's doing pretty good, but oh, there we go. Like I got the pawn shop, or finally we got the belt. But even pawn shop belt, you need the double whammy or you need the lion's cane. Then once you get it, you're like, get out of here, B. I'm done with you. I'm going big dick mode. But yeah, I mean, so much of what his core identity is now is built around the B, which is way too powerful, way too powerful. But he doesn't really have that much else on like that's that powerful, especially in the early game with everything taken out. So I like that. I think he's I don't think he's in a good spot. I think this is the worst meta we've had, in my opinion. I dislike almost the entire meta just because obviously my favorite character got gutted. He has way less options. The good builds are not my favorite to play against, but it's not like it's unfun. And I think once they obviously, I think that balancing is harder on them than they expected it once they got this many players playing, because they just extended it out a month, right? They closed beta is a month longer, and maybe it's polish, maybe it's bugs, but it seems to me like balancing must be harder than we're giving them credit for. Not than we're giving them credit for, but like they didn't adjust the numbers. They're like, in a week we couldn't do anything to these items. We had to just remove them from the game because the game is not in a state that we like. So obviously they're taking their time with these balance changes. They don't want to revisit the same item like 10 times, I don't feel like. And they're probably really thinking about, all right, well, we changed this item to this. How does this affect the character as a whole? So it seems like they're putting in their due diligence here.
120,000 players have played the Bazaar, right? So that's so much larger than I thought the number was. And it really makes it cooler that Plat is in the top 1,000 and that I will be in the top 500 very soon. And then I just won't play so I can stay above.
I think I would be top 100 if I played meta. All right. I think I would have kept climbing, but that's cope at this point. Now it's easy to say what could have been as opposed to what is.
Yeah, no, but I mean, being top 1,000 for sure, you know what I mean, is an accomplishment. We know that there's at least 60K founders packs that were bought, but I would say probably closer to like 70 plus, because there's just some people who bought the game and didn't have a friend who wanted to play or whatever, and didn't have a friend who has a YouTube account to give it away. So like I was in that situation, I just gave mine to Plat to give away. But if I didn't have that, I would have just sat on it and not done anything with it.
So we know there's at least 60,000 because half of players had to pay for the game. Let's just say let's lowball it and say we'll add 5,000 of, let's say only 5,000 people use the keys, right? No. Let's not even do that. Just say a guarantee they had 60,000 people buy it. How much money did they make? At minimum, if everyone bought the cheapest, which is not what they did, the game at minimum has already made $2 million almost on the first month. And it likely made a substantial amount more than that because I bought 3. I bought $100, $30, and $30. So they made $160 from me. So the game has already made millions of dollars.
There's plenty of us who paid 3 times the price, right, to get the version we got, which is really cool. So yeah, they probably are easily at 2.7 million, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's higher than that, which is great. And that's why taking their time and extending it is such a good reason for polish, for balance, for releasing a good game into open beta, for servers stuff, because I know servers have been really rough. But the fourth thing is it's financially a great move too, right? And it's not even
of course.
They're not purposely doing it for financials, but it's like that's more time for Crip and other people to keep streaming the game and get more people into the game before it's even released into an open beta.
Well, because
which is going to generate more money that they can use to make a better game.
I bet they make another $400,000 off of people that were like, I'm gonna wait a month. And it's like, well, now it's another month. We're like, well, fuck it. I'm gonna spend the $30 and just play now. I'm tired of waiting. Right? They're going to make money off. And is that their goal? I doubt that is the motivation. That is a side effect of people being impatient. They were going to wait a month and then being told they have to wait an extra month, but you could just play now if you want. So that's probably going to make them more money. But also keep in mind, they're not selling a single cosmetic in game. There's not even a shop in the game yet. There's going to be a shop in Heroes, and they're going to monetize the game with cosmetics and stuff like that. This is just because people want to play the game. They're already making millions of dollars. I consider this a huge success so far. I mean, I don't know their internal metrics. I don't know how much they've spent on making the game. I would be surprised if they've broken even at this point. They probably spent more than $2 million making the game over what 6 to 8 years, something like that. But I
know on record they've crowdfunded over 5 million. I'm not sure exactly how much they have, because that's both I'm sorry, I don't mean just crowdfunding, but between crowdfunding and private investments, I know it's above 5 million.
Okay. Well, I mean, I bet this game probably hasn't broken even yet then, but I would be surprised if within 6 months it's not crushing it. I don't think this game is going to be like Marvel Snap, where it was like Marvel Snap was like the top grossing mobile game of like the whole year. It made like $100 million in like a couple months or something. But I do think that this game is definitely a huge success, has a huge player base for a closed beta, which people say it's an open beta because you could buy in, but at that point it's kind of semantics. I feel like it doesn't really matter. But the point is, it is a beta that you need to pay to get access to.
And you only need to pay $15 if you have a friend who also wants to play and you guys pitch in together. So it's like, I have spent $60 on trash freaking games so many times in my life, and I have put hundreds of hours into this game and been perfectly happy to do so.
100%. Plus, also, like, they've done, again, there's no monetization within the game itself right now. I mean, you could spend $100 on gems for no reason. Like, there's nothing to do other than playing the ranked mode.
Ranked.
But like, that's $1 per ticket, I suppose, but it's not really monetized yet. And there's also like been, I think, maybe literal zero marketing outside of just Kripparrian and Rarin playing the game on their channels, right? I haven't seen a commercial for the game. They've done something on their own YouTube channel, and they've done something on Kripparrian's channel and Rarin's channel, but not any real monetization, advertising push for it, because they probably already know that their servers can't handle it, because they see how many people bought the game. They know how many people to expect, roughly. And so they probably are like, we don't want to push this game. We don't have servers ready if we have a huge marketing campaign. So let's chill for a while. So I think the game's already successful, but I think it's going to explode way more than it already has also.
Yes. And I love, his view on marketing is he basically says, if you have a good game, people are going to play it. And there are so many people who are like, that's not true. There's so many gem indie games that never get played, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, streamers are your free advertising. Like, it's a great model. if it's fun to play, people will play it. They will stream it because that's what their job is. That's how they make money. And of course, that will draw in players. And like the amount of money that people pay Kriparian to play their trash game for like 3 days on stream is nuts. He's made $50,000 to play one game for a week, you know, and that's probably not even the most. That's just one deal that I
Mhm.
happen to know about. But good for him. I'm not saying that he shouldn't get the money, but what I'm saying is they're saving $50,000 every week he plays the game to get the same level of exposure that those other games were asking for.
100%. And there's a difference between a game like an indie game like Chained Echoes, which is maybe the greatest RPG ever made, in my opinion. But it's like an indie game. Not a lot of people have heard about it, but it still gets like relatively successful. But that is like a single player RPG maker looking experience on Steam. This is like a multiplayer streamers kind of game. There is a lot of free marketing built into the genre of the game in general, right? People that like auto battlers look for high quality auto battlers. You know, so a bad patch comes out for the battlegrounds, like one they had just announced recently. People are like, fuck, well, you know what? I'm going to go try Bazaar now. You know, TFT has a bad meta. People are going to look for the next best one because they like the genre. And the Bazaar is the highest quality one there. So they don't need to do that much marketing to make it work. And obviously, there's countless examples. Like, how many advertisements have you seen for like Baltro, right? Like how many commercials have you seen for that game that might win Game of the Year in the Game Awards? And it's a small indie roguelike game, you know, like uh there's a lot. This game does have a
Vampire
lot of marketing.
Survivors.
Yeah, Vampire Survivors. This game does have a lot of marketing. It's just all free because it's a good game, you know? And trust me, the game was bad.
Yeah.
No one would be playing it. I can't tell you that I was so convinced this game wasn't going to be good, and I was like, after I watched some gameplay of it, I was confident that it would be good after I saw real gameplay of it, and then I played it. I'm like, this game's fantastic. Because when you're looking at all these little bars go up on these items and it doesn't look that engaging, and it's kind of confusing. And I'm like, I don't know how satisfying it is to put these items together and then just to watch it. Um, it is. It's fantastic. It's been an incredibly wonderful experience for me. Um, in fact, it's been so wonderful that there's a couple items we want to shout out here. We like doing the item. I like doing the item highlight series. And so it's basically every week we're picking an item. And every week it's been interesting that I've had a new item where I'm like, this item has got to be talked about. And I think my boy here has been the same. So we're going to start with his item. I believe we have a howbazaar.gg up here. I'll put the link in the description down below so you can look at this. But let's go ahead and look up Torpedo. I believe this is the item you wanted to talk about today.
Yes. So I haven't really seen other people playing this very much. But in Crit Vanessa, Aggro Vanessa, Weapon Vanessa, this has been really good because it works for like the aquatic builds or for the ammo builds. And what this does is it comes in at silver, and it essentially is a 10-second ticking time bomb of a big chunk of damage. And that damage is going to scale, you know, plus 30 at silver, plus 60 at gold, plus 90 at diamond each time that you use an ammo item or you use an aquatic item. So now that we got that part out of the way, we know it scales, we know it gets big, and it's based off of the number of shots or attacks that you can use with these items. So if you're playing a whole bunch of fishies and you slot this in because your poison build isn't strong enough yet, but you can get a decent amount of ticks off, then when it pops off at 10, you could easily find yourself in a position where it's doing, even at bronze, 500 damage, right? And early on in the game, since you can pick this up day 2 pretty easily, day 3, that 500 damage can just insta-kill somebody from where they were at 10 seconds in the fight. Same thing if you're going, it's even better in ammo, of course. If you're playing an ammo build and you haven't hit your repeater combo yet and you don't really have any crit going on and you're trying to find a way to stabilize to get enough wins to get to a place where you can play the full port build, or have the crit repeater combo or the fire, what is that thing called? Blunderbuss combo.
Mm-hmm.
Any of those kind of combos. While you're looking for those, you're going to have Torpedo, and a gold Torpedo can easily hit 1500 damage before the 10 seconds comes up with a repeater, just one repeater and then a bunch of ammo items that kind of suck. And, that's the difference on day 5, day 6 to try to stabilize and get your port and your other pieces.
I mean, even on like even a very early game, day 2 or something like that, the double barrel shotgun triggers this 4 times before it fires, right? Isn't that 4 seconds with a multicast too? Is that what double barrel shotgun does? It's a 4 second?
It's 3 seconds, but
3
yes,
seconds.
everything
Okay.
else you said was right.
So if you have an extra ammo on it, you could trigger that 3 times. And so it would be 6 activations with that one item in this.
And that's not uncommon because you have multiple ways to get that one ammo. You can get the item that you sell from like the junk vendor or whatever, or from level ups to get that. Or you could use the cannonball, or you could use the little horn thingy. Well, the horn thingy just gives it more. Like when you use an ammo, it gives you back the ammo, but it's the same effective thing. So that firing off, what would it be? 6 times you said? By itself is going to be, even on silver, even on like day 2 or 3, 30 times 6 is like 180. Is that right?
Yeah. 150 plus 30, so yeah, 180.
Yeah, and then it
on
has
top of the
base
60,
attack
yeah.
of 30. Or maybe it starts at 60. Yeah. So that's not bad. 240 damage just from one weapon.
Which is, yeah, I mean, that's super good. Like, this seems like an item that's really, really good day 2, and it just keeps getting better up until maybe day 7, day 8, and then you pivot into some broken synergy, right? This is one of those items that you're probably, I mean, you could keep it, but at a point, like, you're doing an infinite repeater dagger thing, like, do you really care about this at that point, waiting 10 seconds? You probably want them dead before that ever comes up, but it's like a perfect early mid-game item while you're waiting for the big stuff to come up. Like, this would be, like in Pig, to compare, like before I switch to HP Pig, before I find all the pieces, this would be kind of like maybe like a silver Crook build kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, maybe it falls off, but it's so good for when it's good. I like this item. I want to play more Vanessa. The ammo mechanic I don't love, because I just get like, God, it's not firing anymore. I when I play Vanessa, I have to ask myself, how much HP do they have? When I'm playing Pig, I'm like, how much HP do I have? It's like, I don't care how much HP they have when I'm playing anyone else, because I just keep attacking. But yeah, so Torpedo is a really cool item for sure. I like it a lot. I also like that it's a medium, and then you could reload it. That's at 20 seconds. It probably doesn't happen that much, but I'm sure it's relevant to an extent in some matchups, especially in the mid game. 20 seconds is not that uncommon. All right, what was my item? I already know. The most powerful item in the game. I want to talk about knee brace. Can I, how do I, zoom this in? You know what? Let's just go like this. Maybe I can go like this and zoom down. There we go. Knee brace. I made a video talking about this item, I think. And apparently, the first comment's like, everyone knows this already. I'm like, shut up. All right. I played this game a lot. I consume a lot of media of this game. I've never heard anyone say that. Okay. Reddit. Sorry. But, knee brace. This is that item you get from what the heck's his name? Curio. He's the junk item vendor. He has this not every time, but it's a very common item that he has. And if you read the text, it sounds like dog shit. If this is on your board at the start of each day, gain 1, 2, 3, or 400 max health. This is extra bad on Pig because it's like, who cares? But it's still like, this is actually a reasonable Pig item if you're going HP Pig, because if you're doing something like double whammy, this is a small item. You don't really care if the double whammy takes 13 seconds as opposed to 12 seconds, because it increases the cooldown of all your items by a second, and getting the HP is nice. And a little trick you could do with this also is if you win a PvP encounter and you level up after that PvP encounter, you could just put this on your board before the day rolls over and still get the HP bonus of it. But that's narrow. That doesn't really come up that much. And getting this above bronze is extra rare. Like, how often are you going to get a diamond knee brace? It's like, I literally think it's impossible unless you get 2 of them, get it up to silver, and then use level 5 and level 10 on it. It's like, so this isn't going to happen. It's probably just 100 HP. But here's why we're even talking about this item, other than it being okay in HP Pig sometimes. The cooldown of your items are increased by 1 second. This is not in combat. This is a static effect wherever you are. So basically what you do is you put on knee brace, you take your whatever, it doesn't matter how long it is. Let's just go with an example that's easy, I guess. I don't know, katana, 2 seconds. You bring your 2-second item up to 3 seconds. You can then use all those percent base cooldown items, the feathers, right? Reduce all your items by 1%, 6%, the leftmost item by 12%. the 12%, 6%, whatever it is, will reduce the cooldown by a percent of that 3 seconds instead of the 2 seconds. So you use an item like that, you get the cooldown effect of and basically a stronger cooldown effect, and then you just take the knee brace off, and then you remove the flat second afterwards. So in practice, this usually is going to work out to like maybe 0.1, maybe 0.2 seconds, depending on the item. The bigger the item, the bigger the effect, but the less impactful for the most part. 12 seconds versus 10 seconds, yippee-ki-yay. But like 2 seconds, 1.9 seconds versus 1.6, 1.7 seconds, that's a lot more activations in combat. And also, it's so important. If your item fires first, there's a lot of times where it's like when you crit, when you haste, you freeze an item. Suddenly, you go 1.6, they go 1.9, you hit first, you freeze their item, now they're stuck for 8 seconds. They don't even get to go. So these are like little tricks that are going to give you a disproportionately big advantage comparatively to what it looks like you're going to be getting. It looks small, but those small differences, if you're going up against someone with a very similar build in a mirror matchup, that little bit is really what makes all the difference in the world, because you attack maybe 2 more times in that combat, so they die in the sandstorm before you do, or you just kill them before you do. So this is the kind of stuff you want to be looking out for, and knee brace is an item that I would consider potentially holding if you are in a build where you really some builds I don't go for cooldown that much, just because it's not that important for my items, especially like in a B build, right? Like I'm kind of like, who cares? But if there's a thing where if you could start hoarding some of these items earlier and then get a knee brace later and then dump, then take the knee brace off and just enjoy the benefit. Do you have anything to add about knee brace?
Yeah, the other thing about knee brace that I saw someone do against me, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool too. If you know your weekday one, which happens a lot, right? Having that knee brace that you can just slot on the board, you're going to lose. So why not get 100 extra HP so that next one I have a big advantage. I have 100 more HP in day 2.
That is a big day 2 boost too. Like even on Pygmalion, that's big, but on Dooley, on Vanessa, you have, what's your starting HP? 250, and then you level up. So you're gonna go from 250 normally to 350, I think, but you're actually gonna go up to 450. You're getting almost double HP. Right? Is that right? You get 100 HP when you first level as Vanessa and Dooley.
50.
You only get 50 HP. Maybe you only get 50 from Pig too. Maybe I'm misremembering.
You just go from 300 to 350.
Yeah, well, I remember because most of the time you level up, you get 100, but I guess that first level is a little bit weaker than most of the levels. Because I get 100 HP when you level up as Pig, but the first one is probably 50, like for balancing reasons. But yeah, that's a huge HP boost, especially because sometimes you just get some shitty unsynergistic start and you just have nothing on your board, or you have some you have a shovel because you're like, oh, this is an econ item, and then you have a item that scales with something you don't have yet. You're like, fuck it, I'll take 100 HP, I'll kick ass day 2 onward. Losing day 1 is not what you want to do, but sometimes it's not out of your control, and when you can identify ahead of time that it's out of your control, some free HP is going to help you cement those victories in the following days. All right, and that's all I have to say about knee brace for our item highlight. Is there anything else you want to bring up today, Lolly, yet?
No, I think we weren't able to get through a lot of things we want to talk about, but naturally we're both a little long-winded, and we both are very passionate about the game, and having topics for the future to talk about is nothing bad. So we appreciate all the support from everybody, and we're going to keep coming at you every week. If our schedules can do it, sometimes a different video, because we have so many things we want to say. Like there are tier lists we would like to do for like starting items, starting skills, things that you can kind of do that with, because it's really hard to do like a tier list for items in general, because it's like, what are your other items, what are your other skills, and just like you said with those deck guides, like kind of just talking about like, how do you get over the course of a game, what does your story arc look like, what are you trying to do under not even a best case scenario, but like an average case scenario.
I think I have literally 4 topics here written down that we were going to talk about today that we just didn't reach, and they would all take a lot of time. So maybe we'll record another video. But at this point, we're already over. I'm trying to make it an hour, and we've missed it every time. This one is no exception. Next time will be no exception. I guarantee it. But Yeah, so one thing I want to say here at the end is if you like this, like and subscribe to the channel. That's always beneficial. But more importantly, you can leave us questions and comments down below. And Laliette likes reading the comments and responding to some of them. I like reading them and responding to some of them. And then if you guys have questions, it would be kind of fun to do a little Bazaar mail segment at the end here. Leave about 10 minutes to answer some questions. So yeah, let us know if you guys want us to talk or ask us anything. And other than that, I think we're ready to sign off for today. So, without further ado, the perplatypus is perplatypus. And what's your sign out, Laliette?
I don't have one. Peace.
Peace. Bye.